Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some really profound ideas from Hindu philosophy. We're going to use this incredible framework to understand, well, everything, from how a simple pod gets made all the way up to the very nature of existence and knowledge itself.
So we're going to start with about the biggest question you can ask. But believe it or not, the philosophical answer begins with something you can hold right in your hands, just a simple lump of clay.
You see, to really get to the bottom of how anything is created, we first have to understand that there isn't just one single cause. Nope, there are actually three distinct types, and they all have to work together.
Okay, first things first, and this is pretty obvious. You need the stuff. You need the raw material that's actually going to be changed into something new.
In Sanskrit, this has a name. It's called the upadana karana, or the material cause. So for a pot, that's the clay. It's the substance that's literally undergoing the transformation from one state, a simple lump, to another, a useful vessel.
Right, but that lump of clay is just going to sit there, isn't it? It needs some kind of intelligent force, an agent, to actually do something to it. And this is the efficient cause, or the nimitta karana. This is the main actor who's responsible for making the change happen. In our example, that's the potter.
And last but not least, even the best potter in the world can't do much with just their bare hands. To shape that clay the right way, they need some instruments to help them out.
These are the auxiliary causes, the sahakari karana. Think of them as the essential toolkit the agent uses, like the potter's wheel. Without that wheel, the whole process just doesn't work.
Okay, so here's where it gets really cool. This simple three-part structure, you've got the material, the agent, and the tools. It gives us this incredibly powerful way to analyze the creation of pretty much anything.
Just think about it. For a piece of fabric, right? The threads, that's your material cause. The weaver is the efficient cause, the one doing the work. And the loom, that's the auxiliary cause, the tool. So naturally, Hindu philosophy takes this amazing framework and asks the ultimate question. What are the three causes for the entire universe?
But you know, this whole way of thinking, it's not just for physical stuff. You can actually apply this same kind of sharp analytical mindset to ideas. The source material gives us a very similar method for breaking down a text to find out what it really means.
So if you want to find the real heart of a message, here's the playbook. First, look at what the author says at the very beginning and the very end. Second, what words or ideas keep getting repeated over and over and over? That's a huge clue. And third, what's the actual logic, the proof that's being used to back up the main point?
And this all leads us to this amazing story. A story about what happens when pure, cold logic goes head-to-head with a reality that, well, might be playing by a totally different set of rules.
So the story goes, you have 1,000 rationalists who get together with one mission, to prove or disprove the existence of God. So they issue this very straightforward, logical challenge. It's almost like they're calling attendance.
And so they waited, and they waited. The source is actually pretty funny here. It says they even gave God an extra half hour, just in case he was a latecomer. But still, nothing, only silence.
So here's the big question. What does that silence actually mean? For these rationalists, the fact that they got no observable empirical response, well, that was the answer.
Based on their experiment, they came to a conclusion. Since God didn't show up and prove his existence on their terms, they passed a resolution. Simple and unanimous. God does not exist.
But hang on. There's this brilliant counter-analogy in the source that makes you question not their conclusion, but their entire method. What if the rationalists were simply using the wrong tool for the job?
Imagine the town is suffering from a cholera outbreak. A medical officer arrives, stands by the infected well, and makes the exact same demand. If bacteria exist in this water, come forward and identify yourselves. It sounds completely absurd, right? Because that's just not how you find bacteria.
You don't need the bacteria to introduce themselves. The proof of their presence is all around you. It's in the illness that's spreading through the town. You can't see the cause directly with your naked eye, but its effects, they are undeniable. And that brings us to the final, really powerful idea that ties this whole thing together. This story isn't really about proving or disproving God. It's about understanding that there are different kinds of truths out there, and they require different kinds of instruments to see them. The philosophy here suggests that just like you need a microscope and auxiliary cause, right, to see a microbe, some deeper realities might require their own unique instruments. Our intellect is an amazing tool, but it's not a Swiss Army knife. For some truths, the instrument might be a prepared mind, or what the source calls direct experience, something that goes beyond just logic.
And this leaves us with a really compelling final question to think about. If our intellect is just one tool in the kit, what other instruments, things like intuition, experience, or quiet reflection, might we need to perceive the truths that really matter in our own lives?